Good morning, I'm meteorologist Patrick Fitzgerald back to get another update on Super Typhoon Bavi. We've been about a day or so removed from that catastrophic landfall on the island of Rota on the Northern Mariana Islands, but you can see with our latest imagery that the system has rebounded significantly thanks in part to some decrease in the wind shear as well as still the very favorable environment downstream, and you can see that we are dealing with a very impressive, very large as well as intense super typhoon, currently sitting at 130 knots or 150 miles per hour, although I wouldn't be completely shocked if this was a little bit stronger than that, thanks in part to the, obviously with the very warming eye, once again the rapidly warming and clearing out of the eye feature, as well as a more compact central dense overcast, kind of like a truck tire structure right now, at least based off of the IR imagery. Now, this system, like I mentioned, was very large, or is very large, and given the expansive wind fields of the system, the expansive nature of the wind fields, the PAGASA agency has actually designated this with the local domestic name of Inday, and even if it's not technically within the Philippine area of responsibility right now, due to the very large nature of Bavi or Inday, there has been some signal level 1 warnings issued for portions of Catanduanes, as well as the north and northeastern sides of the Philippines, as well as up towards the Babayan Islands and the Batanes Islands. So signal level 1 warnings are out, like I said, for that, which pretty much indicates that tropical storm force winds are definitely possible within this region over the next few days. I wouldn't even be shocked if there was even some isolated instances of some severe tropical storm force winds, especially if the more outer extents of the intense core does shift a little bit closer to the Philippines. But still, regardless, some gusty winds are expected across these signal level 1 regions over the next few days as Bavi or Inday moves closer to the region. Now, over the next several days, we'll get a bit more of a northwesterly trek and will make its closest passage to areas along the Taiwan Strait by around the Thursday to Friday time frame, and will potentially basically thread the needle between Ishiyakijima and Taiwan. It could potentially even go directly over Ishiyakijima based off of some hurricane model guidance, but the latest JTWC forecast cone has it going a little bit slightly west of Ishiyakijima and scraping the northern coast of Taiwan by the time we do get to Friday, before eventually moving inland over southeastern China in the Shantou, as well as some other nearby coastal provinces there in southeastern China. And obviously, as you see, it will begin its extratropical transition and will likely dissipate, in fact, thanks in part to the very high terrain in the region, as well as the increase in wind shear at that point. Still going to be dealing with quite the intense system for the next several days as it's moved to the northwest, and like I said, with the latest hurricane, some of the hurricane models, at least with what we're showing right here, we'll show you the half-say. Half-say has this going pretty much directly over Ishiyakijima by the time we do get to Friday local time, which could be very dangerous, although this is one particular solution that we're going to have to look out for. It's not a guaranteed solution, but if the other hurricane models do come into agreement, we'll have to keep an eye out for that and become a little bit more concerned with more direct impacts to Ishiyakijima. And then you can see by the time we do get to around maybe Friday afternoon to Friday evening local time frame, maybe even early Saturday morning, depending on if it slows down a little bit, it will scrape the northern coast of Taiwan before eventually moving inland Saturday evening around the Shantou and nearby coastal provinces there in southeastern China, and will get ripped apart by the very high terrain. But over the next few days, we're going to be still dealing with an extremely favorable environment, thanks in part to the extreme SSTs, sea surface temperatures of near 31 to 32 degrees Celsius, thanks in part to the very strong Super El Nino that we're dealing with right now across the equatorial Pacific. Wind shear will actually drop dramatically over the next few days, which could provide a brief window for this once again to reach Category 5 status, before eventually towards the latter half of the forecast period, wind shear will dramatically increase once again, and we'll see pretty much a terminal weakening phase, although a little bit more of a gradual phase, still going to be probably done with eventual peaks as the wind shear will increase and we'll get closer to some terrain, which will have some impacts on that whatsoever. Still, with the very very warm sea surface temperatures in the 31 to 32 degrees Celsius range. The system will be lasting for quite a while before it does get torn apart by the high terrain. I'll make sure to have more updates on this system as it progresses towards these regions. Make sure to stay tuned to all my social media accounts for the latest coverage on Super Typhoon Bavi, or is known as Super Typhoon Inday.